Of course I think we can win, and I'm fighting every single day to win.
We've now put forward a plan that... Is that bird worrying you?
Yeah. They're afraid of us. They can see that our movement is growing.
Well, you're not going to have a stand in the Parliament.
Let there be 1,000 lessons learned as far as I'm concerned.
This is the 4ZZZ Break the Election podcast for the Queensland state election in 2024. Hello and welcome to the 4ZZZ Breaks the Election podcast, just 5 days from the 2024 Queensland state election. My name's Alexis Pink, I'm the news coordinator at 4ZZZ. Joining us today are...
Sophia,
Sarah,
And Cameron.
From our 4ZZZ newsroom. Hello everyone, how are we?
Pretty good.
yeah, I'm good as well.
Good to hear. So, in this podcast series, we'll be bringing you up to date on the election and breaking down what is being said and why. Sophia.
A new voter intention poll from YouGov, produced for the Courier Mail, has seen the LNP maintaining a significant lead, but the polls are narrowing. The primary votes for each party in the poll were 41 for the LNP, 30 for the Labor, 11 each for the Greens and One Nation, 1 for the Katters, and 5 for other parties and independents. David Crisafulli also lost ground on the preferred Premier, now leading current Premier Stephen Miles by a single point, at 37 to 36.
Interesting. So, polls are starting to narrow for the LNP. Does anyone have any inkling about why that might be happening?
Maybe on the topic of abortion?
Yeah, it is sort of dogging the LNP a little bit at this point, isn't it? Probably what stands out is Crisafulli's dithering on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, he has been very clear that he doesn't want to talk about it, but it's also very clear his party absolutely does want to talk about it. What are your thoughts around David Crisafulli at this point? How do you feel about him as a leader?
I don't think he would make a very good leader. His policies and stuff seem very empty, and also they go against the rights of the people.
Well, that is the impression that he is giving, this idea that he doesn't want to talk about social issues, but his party definitely does want to talk about social issues.
Yeah.
I feel like I just haven't seen anything. Maybe it's just like my media filter. And I know Stephen Miles is all over social media and really leaning into that. But I feel like he's kind of been leaning into that more and trying to get closer to the younger generations.
Yeah,
and that sort of stuff.
100%.
Yeah.
And there is something to be said about Stephen Miles's approach to social media. It has been much more prominent in the election
Yes.
than the LNP.
It is trying to attract those young voters. In terms of David Crisafulli, I'm a little bit hesitant, especially surrounding all of the abortion discourse, and also about his primary campaign, which is youth crime, adult time.
Yeah.
if that's correct.
There's a word that I'm going to associate with David Crisafulli, maybe for the first time in this election, a bit weak.
I actually agree. When he was debating, his arguments seemed less weak than the Premier's counter-arguments, especially when he was trying to deny his stance on abortion. It was just very weak with the way he was just trying to brush aside it and not comment on it at all.
Nothing seems to come out with a force of will. It
Yeah.
always feels like he says things, but he doesn't mean them.
I see what you mean there.
We should probably move on. Cameron, what have you got for us?
The Katter Australian Party is calling for a return to physical discipline, prompting criticism from communities. A KPA candidate stated that parents have lost their right to discipline, claiming some kids need a smack and a kick up the arse. Party leader Robbie Katter supports parents using any discipline they see fit. However, Indigenous leaders and social scientists criticise the approach, arguing it promotes violence and could have harmful effects on children's development.
Wow, Corporal Punishment. We're back here again. I mean, is this election happening in 1950? It does feel like that a little bit. But why do you think the Katters are bringing up Corporal Punishment at the moment? Why is this important in this election campaign?
It is an extension from youth crime, is it not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it distinctly does feel like an extension of youth crime,
Yeah.
just changing the
Changing
venue.
the words so he's a little bit different from the LNP. But again, it's basically the same stuff.
Yeah, it does feel like the same thing over. Do you think it's going to be an effective differentiator? The LNP has been dithering on this one a little bit, not really wanting to engage on this particular issue, and I can't exactly blame them for not doing that. Will it differentiate them, or do you think it might hurt them a little?
I feel like, if anything, it's going more extreme. Obviously it is going more extreme, but I feel like it's quite a divisive topic in a way that you're not really going to be drawing in any new people that aren't already concerned with youth crime, which is already a smaller subset of society. You're not going to get you're not going to get any new people attracting them in. It's kind of just the same people and kind of making it more extreme.
So on the other side of that point is David Christoforli announcing that there'll be no TV for youth offenders who attack guards. Same sort of policy, just in a different direction.
Yeah.
I feel like no television is slightly different from giving a kid a kick up the arse or hitting them or something like that, like Kata was suggesting. No TV isn't really much of a punishment, really.
Well, a punishment for an 8-year-old, I would imagine. I mean,
Yeah.
certainly a punishment my parents probably would have used.
But also, I guess the question is to ask is how do they define punishment for the youth crimes? Like, what's their punishment?
It does feel like it's extrajudicial a little bit, but what they're saying is that TV is a privilege, not a right, in this sense. It's a bit of a weird side note. I think they've already proven that they do not like youth offenders.
Yeah.
Probably don't need to go much further to really prove that point.
Yeah, like what's the point? Like, and what's the point of campaigning on that fact of taking TV away from?
Yeah, I
from,
just don't see the point.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure victims of crime aren't going to care about TV privileges for children in jail.
Exactly.
100%. And like, I mean, sure, like, you know, youth crime is a very prevalent situation, but also I just think this is just going to do more harm than good.
Possibly.
Yeah.
All right, Sarah, last story.
LNP candidate Bree James is facing backlash after joking about her German heritage following the defacement of her campaign banner with a toothbrush mustache. Party leader David Christoforli criticised the post, calling it disappointing and wrong, stating, "Is this acceptable? It's not funny." The Anti-Defamation Commission also condemned the joke, claiming it, quote, trivialises the atrocities of the Holocaust, end quote. James later apologised, saying, "It was offensive, it was not funny. I am deeply sorry to anyone I have offended."
Wow. Like, I don't even know where to start with this one. Defacing of campaign materials. Like, we've all been in elections before. We've all seen stuff like that. It's not uncommon for people to vandalise those sorts of signs. I've seen all sorts. And yeah, toothbrush mustaches in a reference back to that silly little man who controlled Germany between the 30s and 40s. Yeah.
And I just think the clapback that she was trying to do just clapped back on herself, so
It sort of did.
it backfired so bad.
She could have said it a little bit more professionally and with a bit more respect if she was really trying to say that it doesn't affect her. Like, she could say this is juvenile behaviour.
Yeah, which is the classic response.
Yeah.
Or they could have not responded at all and just replaced the sign,
Exactly.
which
Yeah,
is
well,
what
that too,
the vast
yeah.
majority of candidates do.
100%.
I'm not expecting a big advantage to be gained from this, so why even bother with this line?
Yeah, even just like the celebrating my German heritage. Like, it's fine to celebrate your German heritage.
With the
but-
widest
Yeah, I do.
smile too
but
in
with
the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like cheeky cultural jokes around things like German sausages and lederhosen are one thing, but
Yeah.
making a direct comparison to Hitler?
It's
Why?
just, like, it's so discriminative and offensive, and it's just very distasteful.
Christoforli's waving it off, and
Yeah,
probably
I
waving it
mean-
off is the appropriate response to this. It's a silly moment from a candidate whose experience is fairly low,
Yeah.
but still not a great look for the LNP.
No, it's not.
All right, and that's all the time that we have for 4ZZZ Breaks the Election podcast today. For more updates, you can find us on 4ZZZ in our morning bulletins, Brisbane Line on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays at midday, and make sure to catch the Pineapple Rebellion at 9 a.m. on Fridays. If you want to support the project, subscribe to 4ZZZ at 4ZZZ.org.au/support. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. Goodbye! Bye.